Namaste and welcome to our continuing series, The Synthesis of Yoga with Ranganath. We are in chapter 4, The Systems of Yoga, page number 38, and we begin explaining the paragraph, but this exclusive consummation.
Srimna has been discussing the systems of yoga, and now he is discussing the triple path, that is Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga. So he has already told us about the path of knowledge. So to get the sense of continuity, I just read out to you the summary of what he has said in the previous para, so that we know what he is going to say in the next one. We can connect it. So he has said in the previous para, the aim of the Jnana Yoga is the realization of the Supreme Self, the Brahman, the Atman, the witness consciousness. It uses vichara, reflection, and viveka, discrimination. It recognizes the transient elements of man's being and rejects them one by one, sequentially, to escape their clinging, clawing clutch and grasp, and realizes all three, body, life and mind, to be part of Prakriti, impermanent creations of universal nature. It arrives at the realization of man's true being as the Purusha, which is immutable, eternal and infinite, self-existent, free from all conditions. After the liberation of the soul from the prison house of body, life and mind, normally Jnana Yoga follows the path of complete renunciation of the Prakriti and worldly existence, and it resorts to the emergence of the individual soul into the Supreme Source from where it has taken birth. So this is what he has said in the previous one. Now Swami is going to say that Jnana Yoga can be done in the integral yoga in a slightly different way. So what that different way is, what we are going to read today. Okay, so. But this exclusive consummation is not the sole or inevitable result of the path of knowledge. He is talking about an exclusive consummation. First of all, the word consummation is the successful completion of whatever you are doing. So the successful completion of Jnana Yoga in the traditional path is to get rid of body, mind, life, realize that you are the soul or the consciousness and merge into that from which you have come. You are a wave in the sea and this wave disappears into the sea again. That's a Jnana Yoga path. Okay? So, Swami is saying, you are excluding the physical world, you are excluding your body, mind, life in the Jnana Yoga. But that is not the only way it can be done. You can pursue the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, but you need not reject the physical world. That's what he's saying. Okay? It's not the exclusive consummation. You are excluding the physical world. That's what it means. It's not the sole or inevitable result of the path of knowledge. You can do it in other ways. For followed more largely and with a less individual aim, the method of knowledge may lead to an active conquest of the cosmic existence for the divine, no less than to a transcendence. So, God usually takes three poises. He takes a transcendent, that is, before he creates the universe, he only exists. So he is outside the universe. Then he creates the cosmos and he is also there in the cosmos. So he can be transcendent, he can be there in the cosmos. Normally that's what you call pantheism. You see the divine in everything in the physical world. He also enters into each living creature. While living creature, he goes into each individual form also. Even in a stone or an atom, he is there. But if he is there in the stone, it is a potential divine consciousness. Potential. But it has to arise out of that. So, in animals, the potentiality starts becoming a reality. In human beings, it becomes much more of a reality. So he makes a distinction between soul and psychic being. The soul is the potential divine presence in you, but the psychic being is that fully developed and it is conscious of itself. The soul is normally not conscious of itself. It identifies itself with the body, with the life and the mind, and thinks that this is what I am. But that is the ignorance of man. So in the Jnana Yoga, you get rid of your ignorance, realize that you are not the body, mind, life, and you are pure consciousness, and you disappear into the infinite sea of consciousness. Sri Aurobindo is saying it need not be like that. In other words, you can not reject the physical world, but become master of the physical world. Okay? The method of knowledge may lead to an active conquest of the cosmic existence for the divine. You are not doing it for yourself, you are doing it for the divine. No less than to a transcendence. So, we spoke about the transcendence. The traditional Jnana Yoga wants to go to the transcendence. In Sri Aurobindo's yoga, you don't want to necessarily go to the transcendence, you want to realize the transcendent, but bring down all that power and glory and light and consciousness down into the physical world, and for you individually, the physical world is your body, your life and your mind. If you can do that at an individual level, it has an effect in the physical world also. So, Sri Aurobindo is wanting individual consummation, but he also wants a collective consummation. That we'll come to later on. So, in integral yoga, you can pursue the path of knowledge, but you need not give up the physical world. You need not reject your body, mind, life. You may go about trying to perfect your body, perfect your vital and your mind. The point of this departure is that realization of a supreme self, not only in one's own being, but in all beings. And finally, the realization of even the phenomenal aspects of the world as a play of the divine consciousness and not something entirely alien to its true nature. Rather big sentence, we'll go point by point. So he's saying that traditional Jnana Yoga and integral Jnana Yoga, they start going on different paths from the realization of the self. What is the self? We have discussed last time. It's a consciousness which is absolutely static, silent, witness, and real. You are in that consciousness which is real. You are realizing the oneness of things. You realize you are not your body, mind, life. You are pure consciousness, and you also normally reject the physical world as unreal. This is the traditional path. But in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, you don't reject the physical world. You get a consciousness of the cosmos, the cosmic consciousness. In the Life Divine, Sri Aurobindo explains that when you make your mind silent, or even if you don't make your mind silent, but rise to the self, okay, which is level 2, the spiritual planes of consciousness, there are two possibilities. One, you see the physical world as unreal, as an illusion, and only pictures, they are only representations, and you reject it as of no use at all to me. But if you are in a cosmic consciousness, you feel yourself to be one with everybody, and you don't reject the physical world because you are one with everybody. So I'll read out that phrase. Then the point of this departure is the realization of the Supreme Self. Not only in one's own being, you realize that you are not the body, mind, life, you are pure consciousness. But in all beings, you see yourself in everybody else also. You see the presence. And in one sonnet of his, remember that Sri Aurobindo is a poet, primarily a poet. He says that to whichever person I turn, I see myself with another face. This is a cosmic consciousness. You feel yourself to be one. Your thoughts their thoughts become your thoughts, their emotions become your emotions. Even the body, in the subtle world, there is a sense of unity. How you can feel one in the body also, I'll just give you one instance, and then you will see that at a subtle level it is possible. If you are in the cosmic consciousness, there is a case of a yogi who is seeing he is in the cosmic consciousness. He is seeing a distance away an animal being whipped. Okay? And he is so identified with everything that animal's consciousness is also his own consciousness. And the result of that whipping of the animal, the whip marks appear on his own back. Okay? So this is the example of a cosmic consciousness even at the physical level. It can be at the mental level, it can be at the vital level, it can be at the spiritual level. You feel yourself to be one with everybody else. I just mentioned to you Sri Aurobindo's one in the sonnet. I am not reading out the whole sonnet. To whichever face I turn, I see myself. To whichever person I turn, I see myself with another face. So he is seeing the multiplicity, but essential unity is there everywhere. Okay? In another sonnet, he says that the largest stars in the universe are burning within me. Okay? That's the story of Sri Krishna, Balakrishna, who is playing and eating mud, and his mother comes and says, "What the hell are you doing? Let me see your mouth, open your mouth." And when he opens his mouth, she sees the whole universe in his mouth. So this is a symbol of the cosmic consciousness. So Sri Aurobindo says the same thing in one sonnet. He says, the universe's largest stars are burning within me. Arcturus and Belphegor are burning within me. So that's a cosmic consciousness. In that case, you don't reject the physical world. Now, I don't know, in the path of knowledge, you are not interested in the world, so you are rejecting it. Okay? So, but here in Sri Aurobindo Yoga, you are not rejecting, and if you are lucky, you get the cosmic consciousness. If you don't, also you pursue it, and you get it. You don't reject the physical world. Rather, you can become master of the physical world, active conquest of the cosmic existence for the divine, no less than the transcendence. The point of departure is the realization of the Supreme Self, and not only in one's own being, but in all beings. And finally, the realization of even the phenomenal aspects of the physical of the world as a play of the divine consciousness, and not something entirely alien to its true nature. So, what are the phenomenal aspects of the world? Phenomenon is an event in the physical world. It's you can put it another way, transience of the physical world. Everything in the physical world has a birth, there's a growth, and there's an end to it. So, a phenomenon is something that starts and ends. So, everything that is there in the physical world, any object, is a phenomenon. You can even talk of events as a phenomenon, but even you can talk of, ultimately, even the Himalayas are phenomenon, because they have been born and one day they will disappear. So, it may take a long time, but even then, there's nothing permanent in the physical world. So, you start seeing the divine presence in stones, in insects, in everything that you see, phenomenal world, you see the divine presence. Okay? Whereas the traditional path, no. They are rejecting the physical world as unreal and illusion. So, and then you see that the true nature of everything in the physical world is a divine presence. There is a form which is born and which disappears, but behind that transient form, there is the divine presence which you see. That's what Sri Aurobindo is saying. And on the basis of this realization, a yet further enlargement is possible. The conversion of all forms of knowledge, however mundane, into activities of the divine consciousness, utilizable for the perception of the one and unique object of knowledge, both in itself and through the play of its forms and symbols. So let's look at this sentence. And on the basis of this realization, what realization? Seeing the divine presence in everything. A yet further enlargement is possible. The conversion of all forms of knowledge. So, what are the forms of knowledge? Everything that you can think of. When you go into a school or a college or even in a university, there is history, there is science, there is philology, there is whatever you want, okay, any subject. All these are forms of knowledge. So, whether it be biology or whether it be engineering or whatever, all these things can be made part of the spiritual life. Whereas in the path of knowledge, you are rejecting the physical world. All these are transient and have no use at all. They have no use. So, Srimdo is saying, it may be true from your angle, but you can make, even if you are a doctor, your medicine and your practice can become part of your spiritual life.
Like, is there a knowledge beyond form?
Pardon?
Is there a knowledge beyond form, since we are talking
That's
about...
a spiritual knowledge.
That's a spiritual knowledge.
There is Paravidya and Aparavidya. The lower knowledge is you are using your senses and your mind. The higher knowledge, you cannot use your senses. You are using either subtle senses you are using, or you are using the intuition, or you are using the instrument of identification. That's the higher knowledge.
And can you give example of that?
Any spiritual knowledge that you have, okay, you go. Scientific knowledge is very clear.
Yes.
Okay. Other knowledge also is my history or biology or anything. All these are all lower knowledge. They are limited to the objects in the physical world.
So can we say occultism would be...
Occultism
formless
is a
knowledge?
form of higher knowledge.
Okay, form of higher knowledge.
Certainly. Okay. It's a form of higher knowledge. Perhaps it's very much on the borderline.
Yes.
But it is knowledge. Okay. But when you can see others' thoughts,
Yes.
when you can see the whole cosmos,
Yes.
when you can
Yes.
see your identity with everybody else, these are all the spiritual knowledge. Okay. So Srimdo is saying now, you don't need to stop your normal activity in the physical world. If you are a doctor, you are an engineer, whatever you are, you can always make your activity part of your spiritual life. How? By offering it to the divine. And if you are a doctor, you try to see the patient also as essentially a divine, and you are treating the divine. If you are a anything else, if you are an artist also, you do it for the divine. Self-consecration. That will be another chapter, the next chapter. So that we will see. And on the basis of this realization, a yet further enlargement is possible. The conversion of all forms of knowledge, however mundane, however physical, however they are related to the physical world, into activities of the divine consciousness, utilizable for the perception of the one and unique object of knowledge. Which is the last object of knowledge? Obviously, the divine, God. So that's what he's saying. The one and unique object of knowledge. Object also he has put an
O
O cap.
capital, which makes the difference.
Okay, so the divine is the last object of knowledge, both in itself and through the play of its forms and symbols. What does he mean by that? Both in itself means the transcendent. That means you see the divine without the universe. You see in himself, in itself. Okay? And through the play of the forms of the symbols of the form, in the physical world also you see the divine in all objects, or all creatures, or all animals, or all human beings. You see the divine. That is the second one. Through the play of its forms and symbols. In fact, what he is implying, that all the forms are symbols of the divine, and it's a play of the divine. He is playing and creating all sorts of things.
Even in the crudest elements.
Even
in the crudest elements, or like even in the crudest
Oh,
the
yes,
things we
crudest.
associate.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because we often, don't see the divine play in all of that, but even
That's
in
right.
that the play is
Yeah.
there.
So, this is the Advaita philosophy. He is basing himself on the Advaita philosophy. There is nothing but the divine everywhere. Okay? And this is something that many other religions don't have. Whereas in the Indian Advaita philosophy, everything, however crude, however however imperfect, whatever is there in the physical, you can think of the worst, it is still the divine.
It's just not in its complete form. It's It's in its lower forms.
Yes, that's right. A stone is also the divine, okay? But a stone is clean. Even the most unclean thing also is the divine.
And we have to be living in that consciousness to be able to see that.
We have to see that. If you don't see that, then it's not possible. And on the basis of the, I'll just mention one thing of to see the divine everywhere and not make a distinction, and to develop also samatha. We are in the physical world, we are repulsed by ugly things and we are attracted to beautiful things. But this is seeing the dualities in the physical world. You are rejecting that which is ugly to you, but then that's part of the divine. So you must realize that you should not be rejecting, you should not be repulsed by anything. So Ramakrishna used to teach himself this by doing something very interesting. Two things he used to do. He used to take mud in his hand in one side, and he used to take a few coins in his other hand, and he used to say, Taka, Mati, Mati, Taka. Mati is
mud.
Yeah, Mati is
soil.
Okay, mud if you want. And on the other hand, he's got a few coins, money. So what is the difference? There is no difference, and he used to throw them both into the into the Howrah river. Okay, the Ganges. Not Howrah, the, what is it called? The
Hubli River. Hubli River?
Hooghly River. That's right. Howrah is the bridge. Okay, so this is one thing he used to do. And he used to do something else which you may feel a little repulsive, but that's precisely the point when I say even the worst thing is the divine. He used to take Chandan in one hand. Chandan is supposed to be a element for beautification in our Indian culture. And he used to take excreta in the other hand. Okay? And he says, what is the difference? So he used to put it on his body, just to teach himself not to be repulsed by anything, and also to understand that everything is the divine. Now this also is an important point in Tantra, because Tantra also does that. Okay, they do the worst possible things which you will disapprove of, but the discipline is meant to make you realize that you should be repulsed by nothing at all. That is why they indulge in all sorts of things without being attached. Okay, they indulge in everything that you normally say you should not do. Okay, you drink wine, and that also they do wine not from a glass or something, from a skull. So and then they even eat human flesh if possible. Purposely they do all these things to teach themselves not to be repulsed by anything. So this is Tantra. And Sri Aurobindo says it's a very, very powerful system. But some of the practices you need not do, because you can develop samatha by other more beautiful means also. Because beauty also is an aspect of the divine. Okay, so the one and unique object of knowledge, both in itself and through the play of its forms and symbols. Now, the other thing is also he is using the word symbol. Everything is a symbol of the ultimate reality. This you have to start slowly realizing and trying to see what the symbol, something could be a symbol of what. I'll just give you a few examples, okay? Then you will see that yes, they are very clearly symbols. Take the sea or the atmosphere. Both are the same. At the lowest level, there is density of air, and as you keep going higher and higher, air becomes rarer and rarer, and therefore subtler and subtler and less dense. This also is the truth of consciousness. When you rise higher and higher, the substance itself starts becoming very, very subtle. Okay? And at the highest level, you can even float. You are free. Whereas on the ground, you are pulled down by the gravitational force. Your body-mind life keeps you rooted to the earth in darkness, and density does not allow you to go up. So this is one symbol of the actual planes of consciousness. Then the sea also is the same. The deeper you go down, denser it becomes and darker. So this is also a symbol. But everything is a symbol of the divine. Now, if that is so, Mother is giving names to flowers. How does she do that? Because, in fact, this is the question that was asked by the printer who was printing their flowers and their spiritual significances. He asked me, I can understand flowers, but how do you say that this flower is sincerity? How do you say this flower is faithfulness? How do you say that? He asked me. He was a Chinese. Okay. So I told him that there are levels of consciousness. Okay. And in the physical world, you don't see. You don't see the faithfulness in that flower. You don't see sincerity in that flower. But if you go to a subtler plane, just like water itself is one, but it can take the form of ice, it can take the form of water, it can take the form of water vapor, subtler and subtler substance. So, instead of remaining rooted to the physical, if you go into the vital or even higher up, you know what it represents. So, that is how she would do. She would go into her consciousness and see what is that flower the symbol of. So, it's a reality which she is translating into the name of the flower. Okay. So, this is what he is saying, symbols. We are discussing symbols, that's why. Such a method might well lead to the elevation of the whole range of human intellect and perception to the divine levels. Instead of rejecting the physical world as in Jnana Yoga, you start seeing the divine everywhere, you start using your profession also for spiritual life, and then everything can become divine. That's what he's saying. Such a method might well lead to the elevation of the whole range of human intellect and perception. Human intellect, the mind; perception, your physical senses. Even the senses will start seeing the divine everywhere. To the divine level, to its spiritualization, and to the justification of the cosmic travail of knowledge in humanity. This phrase we have to understand, okay? He is saying to the justification of the cosmic travail of knowledge in humanity. Travail, the word travail is hard labor, travail. In French also you have the same word. So, cosmic travail, when you are doing yoga, it's not easy. You have to put in a lot of hard labor, and you have to meet all sorts of sufferings and obstacles and pain. There's all these things are there, but they get justified in the end. That's what Swami is saying. Don't think that that's a permanent nature of the physical world, but if you start following the Jnana Yoga as in the integral yoga, you start seeing the divine everywhere, and now you realize that the pain and all that also, pain and suffering, there was a purpose to it. It gets justified. So what is that purpose? Any obstacle that is there, it goads you to go beyond the obstacle. So pain and suffering also are things which you push you towards progress. So it gets justified. That's what he's saying. The path of devotion. So Sri has dealt with traditional Jnana Yoga, and says that they are not interested in the physical world, they realize who they are and they go back into the infinite from where they have come. Now he is discussing Bhakti Yoga. Next he will discuss Karma Yoga after 2 paragraphs. The path of devotion, Bhakti Yoga, aims at the enjoyment of the supreme love and bliss and utilizes normally the conception of the Supreme Lord in His personality as the divine lover and enjoyer of the universe. The world is then realized as a play of the Lord, with our human life as its final stage, pursued through the different phases of self-concealment and self-revelation. The principle of Bhakti Yoga is to realize all the normal relations of human life into which emotion enters and apply them no longer to transient worldly relations, but to the joy of the all-loving, the all-beautiful, and the all-blissful. Worship and meditation are used only for the preparation and increase of intensity of the divine relationship. And this yoga is Catholic in its use of all emotional relations, so that even enmity and opposition to God considered as an intense, impatient, and perverse form of love, is conceived as a possible means of realization and salvation. This path too, as ordinarily practiced, leads away from the world existence to an absorption of another kind than the monists in the transcendent and supracosmic. So, this is the para he is saying. So now we'll go through quite quickly. So, Jnana Yoga, you are going through your mind. Bhakti Yoga, you are going through your emotional being, which is your heart. Okay. The vital has got two levels also, you must keep in mind. There is the higher vital and the lower vital. The higher vital has got noble sentiments in it. It's got love. It's got sympathy for others. It's got generosity. All these qualities which are there belong to the higher vital. But the lower vital normally is like the density I was talking about in the sea, the dark lower part is selfishness, anger, jealousy, envy, violence, desires of all sorts of things. All these things are there in the lower vital. But they also can be transformed. So, Bhakti Yoga uses the heart to turn your relation to the divine through love and bliss. Okay? So, the path of devotion aims at the enjoyment of the supreme love and bliss and utilizes normally the conception of the Supreme Lord in His personality as the divine lover and enjoyer of the universe. So, in the path of Jnana Yoga, you are realizing the impersonal divine. You feel a presence, you feel a vastness, you feel even a power you may feel, even a consciousness you may feel, but nobody is there. It's impersonal. It's a vastness. But in the Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, it's a personal aspect of the divine that you are seeing. Okay? You see a form. The form that you visualize, you see the divine in a form. And so, in his personality, as the divine lover and enjoyer of the universe, you can't have a relation with the universal, but you can have a relation with a personal aspect of the divine. Okay? So, and what are the emotions you can use? He is telling you that you can use all the emotions that are there. That's a very interesting thing. We'll come to that. The world then is realized as a play of the Lord. This is the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, the Leela. The divine is playing in the physical world. Everything is beauty and love. Okay. Normally, the path of Bhakti Yoga leads to, and there are three things seemingly separate, but they are really all one. Love, beauty, and joy. They all go together. Nah? Each one implies the other if you see. Love will give you, normally you will see beauty. Okay? Then only you fall in love. Then, or it also gives you joy. Human love also gives you pain, but essentially there is also joy. Okay, so this is what he's saying. The Lord in His personality is the divine lover and enjoyer of the universe. The world is then realized as a play of the Lord, with our human life as its final stage and pursued through the different phases of self-concealment and self-revelation. This is a very well-known thing that when you are, it's the same with the Jnana Yoga also. Sometimes you have an the divine presence is there, sometimes He is not there. Viraha, that's why when He is not there, you suffer the pangs of the absence of the lover. Okay? So this is the self-concealment and self-revelation. Same as in his thoughts and aphorisms, he says that he deceived me, he disappears, and then I excused him. When he came again, I excused him, but he again deceived me. So this goes on. You realize, then there is an absence. You realize, why is the absence there? Because of the imperfections and limitations of the physical body-mind life. That's why. It's not that the divine is concealing himself and making you suffer. You yourself are not ready for the full experience. That's why. Okay? So self-concealment and self-revelation. Self-concealment of who? The divine. Is concealing himself and is revealing himself. That's why it's a play. It's like a hide and seek. Okay? So the principle of Bhakti Yoga is to utilize all the normal relations of human life into which emotion enters and apply them no longer to transient worldly relations, but to the joy of the all-loving, the all-beautiful and all-blissful. The word all-beautiful, Sarvasundara, is usually used for Krishna. And in Sri Aurobindo case, it was very much Krishna. Whether in jail or in ashram, afterwards in 1926, Sri Krishna himself descended into Sri Aurobindo.
In fact, in Synthesis of Yoga, in the later chapters, in the path of divine love, the path of divine love, he talks that the all beautiful and all blissful is Krishna. He clearly mentions it later, but I don't have the reference right now.
Okay, so, and he's saying that every relation that you can have at a human level, you can also apply it to the divine. You can have a relation of master and servant. You can have a relation of teacher and pupil. You can have a relation of father and son, even mother and son or mother and daughter. You can have friendship with the divine. There are examples in our Indian scriptures for all these things. No? So, and very rare and very unusual is the relationship of you seeing the divine as a child.
Right.
We have the Balakrishna is there, that is there. But there is a very famous example of a lady. She was known as Gopalar Ma. She was a disciple of Ramakrishna. And she had the experience of Sri Krishna as a child. And she was carrying that child, subtle body, obviously, not physical. She used to carry and go up to Ramakrishna. She used to go. And her experience lasted for 6 months. And when she used to go to Ramakrishna used to see Sri Krishna in her arms and he used to identify himself with that. And what was the result of that in the physical world? He would go and sit on her lap because he is identifying himself with Sri Krishna. So imagine when somebody is seeing, what is this Ramakrishna doing? He is going and sitting in the lap of that old woman. But this is the fact. He was identifying himself and going and sitting there. So it's a very rare.
Also the relationship of the beloved.
Yes, that is there also. Meera is an example. And also in the West, Saint Catherine, she considered Jesus to be her husband. So that also is possible. Okay? Lover also. The whole story of Shri Krishna and the gopis are all that. Okay? So, and this yoga is Catholic in its use of all emotional relations, so that even enmity and opposition to God, considered as an intense, impatient and perverse form of love, is conceived as a possible means of realization and salvation. Okay? So, Sri Aurobindo says, in one of his aphorisms again, he says, if you can't give me the clasp of a lover, give me the clasp of a wrestler. So that's what it comes to that. Okay, so. But it's a clasp anyway.
Yes,
Both
embrace.
In each case, it's a clasp. Okay, so. This path too, as ordinarily practiced, leads away from the world existence to an absorption of another kind than the monist. The monist is the one in the path of the Jnana Yoga. But here, it is not knowledge aspect, but love aspect that is there. But you are so much in love with the divine, you don't care for anything else in the physical world. So, Sri is saying here also, normally, there is a rejection of the physical world. Normally.
If you see, this aspect is seen in the Baul singers.
Yes.
And also like in Kabir music, you just become absorbed in the love for the divine and so for Sufis also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. As ordinary practice. But it need not be like that. That's what I'll tell you in the next paragraph. Okay. Jnana Yoga is going to the transcendent and the supracosmic. But the Bhakti Yoga ends not in the supracosmic, but in the cosmic. Because the whole world is a play of the divine. So you're not going to the transcendent. You're going to the cosmic. Okay. Here too, I'm reading the next one. But here too, the exclusive result is not inevitable. You don't necessarily have to reject the physical world. Normally you do, but you don't have to do that. Okay? That's what Sri is saying. The yoga itself provides a first corrective by not confining the play of divine love to the relation between the Supreme Soul and the individual, but extending it to a common feeling and mutual worship between the devotees themselves, united in the same realization of the supreme love and bliss. So, the sadhaks and the disciples of one master, normally there is a feeling of a sympathy and an attachment. So he's saying among the devotees also there can be a love. You can extend that love for the divine to everything around you. Those who are masters, we have seen that they extend it even to animals. Okay, mother used to experiment with cats. Okay, there was even a dog, a Goldie dog was there, and he used to go every day up to Sriremdo. Okay, he was a golden color, and there used to be a basket of flowers around his neck, and he used to take it to Sriremdo. So there are many stories of cats and all that. Even there is a crow which used to come. We used to watch that. Okay,
mother used to feed the crow.
Yes, mother used to feed biscuits to the crow. So that is one. There's a relation of Raman Maharshi also with animals. Okay, in his case it was cows and monkeys and squirrels and even birds. All this is there. And the famous case of Saint Francis of Assisi is there. He even tamed a wild wolf by calling it brother wolf. So you extend this love to all creatures around you. But Srila is here talking about among the devotees, between the devotees themselves, united in the same realization of the supreme love and bliss. It provides a yet more general corrective in the realization of the divine object of love in all beings, not only human but animal, easily extended to all forms whatsoever. So, first of all, you start loving the disciples who are there along with you for one master, then you transfer that to animals and even to objects. That's what he's saying. Okay? So finally, you start seeing the divine presence everywhere. And that's the reason why we have a saying in the ashram, Mother had said, there is a notice which is put up everywhere in departments. Not to take care of material things is a sign of inconscience. So even physical things, you must take care of them as though there is a divine in it. Okay, and this is the truth of the Ayudh Puja in India. Okay, we worship instruments which you are using. You have to take care of them because there is a divine even in them. So those who are very materialistic will say, what nonsense, you are worshipping screwdrivers and hammers, but this is the truth. Okay, so there is the truth of it. So they say very clearly, easily extended to all forms whatsoever, even the most physical things. We can see how this larger application of the yoga of devotion may be so used as to lead to the elevation of the whole range of human emotion, sensation and aesthetic perception to the divine level. Not only emotion but sensation. Okay, your eyes and your ears, all your senses also will participate. And aesthetic perception to the divine level. Its spiritualization and the justification of the cosmic labor towards love and joy in our humanity. So here again he is telling you that even the path of love, there is pain. When the divine presence is not there, you suffer the pain, just as in human love. And then ultimately the cosmic labor of pain and suffering is justified. That's what he is saying. We stop here today. The next two paragraphs are
on work.
Karma Yoga, path of works. So Srila is taking each one and telling you that you need not pursue it in the traditional way, but you can use it in the integral yoga, you can use all and apply the principle in the integral yoga. So we stop here today.